Hello and welcome to another Pocket-lint hands-on video sponsored by our very good friends at 3. Now, if you know me, you'll know that I am a Galaxy Note 2 user, a very loyal one at that. I love this phone, I find it extremely useful in my day-to-day life. But Samsung has announced and launched now the Galaxy Note 3, an improved version of the phone that I love with all my heart. Now, what's changed, I can hear you ask over the internet. 1080p screen now, so this is a much higher resolution AMOLED. Now that means it's got that bright, vivid look that you're probably used to seeing. It's a little bit less accurate maybe than an LCD, but nonetheless, it is a fantastic looking screen. Very high resolution now. Really actually took my breath away the first time I saw it, and that's because obviously I'm used to the 720p screen on my Note, which I've always stood up for and said it's very good, but it's nice to see a resolution improvement. Now, of course, the Note 3's camera is much improved too. For example, it is now capable of shooting 720p video at 120 frames a second. Now what that means is that you can slow that down to 60 and effectively get a 50 times slowdown with no sort of loss of motion. So none of this juddery stuff that you see on some slow motion videos. This is proper slow motion. Also, as well as 1080p standard video recording at 30 frames a second, the Note 3 can also support 4K video recording. Now, when you switch to that mode, it does warn you there are some settings that you aren't able to access. For example, you can't use both cameras at once. Now, that's probably because the phone is quite, stressing out its processor quite a bit there, and this is only possible on the Snapdragon-powered LTE version of the phone. Some countries will have a slightly different handset. For example, there is a dual SIM version that won't be coming to the UK or, as far as I know, Europe, and there may be another version for America, so you need to check. If it has the Samsung Exynos chip in it, then it doesn't support that feature. So if that's important to you, you want to watch out for that. What else? The S Pen is much improved now as well. There's new functionality here. So for example, you hover your pen on the screen, you get a little prompt up asking you what you want to do. A lot of the features that were in the Note 2 have remained. Obviously, you can draw a box now, and into that box you can load one of several apps. So, for example, you draw a box, you load YouTube into it, and then you can watch YouTube in a little box on the window. Now, that functionality has been in the Note 2 with a dual screen, video viewer thing. But it's actually much improved here, and you can just do the box whenever you want. You don't need to go into the YouTube app, mess around. It's just a cool feature, not particularly earth-shatteringly useful, perhaps, but even so, something that we're quite pleased to see. Also, you can now make a note with a phone number and a name, and then you can add that directly into your contacts. So the handwriting recognition is sort of pretty immediate, and actually we've tested it a couple of times and it's really very good indeed. Really no bother using that at all. Absolutely stunning. As we said, two colours, black and white at the moment. There's also this case, which some of you might be familiar with. Is a flip over case, but allows you to keep the screen so you can see the important information, whether you've missed calls, the clock and such. The back of the Note 3 comes with this sort of faux leather effect. Now that's going to be a little bit of a contentious point for some, because it's an interesting finish and one that some won't like. I personally do, but the good news is the back just comes off. You can easily replace it with a different back. This one doesn't have quite the same faux leather, although it is still a leather sort of case. It's not bad, actually. I think it actually works quite well. And it also gives a little bit of grip that you didn't have with the Note 2. And also, the Note 2 is shiny and gets marked quite easily. You won't get that with this case. So that, in our view, is a positive thing. I also read some criticism about the socket on the Note 3. Now, when I got it, I had a look. And obviously, we're used to phones these days, and they have a standard USB socket. So you can pretty much plug them into anything and have them charge. The Note 3 is slightly different. It uses a USB 3 socket. Now, they're a lot less common and actually still fairly expensive. But I am not too averse to it. Some people, I read a thing on the internet with some guy going crazy because it looks so massive. I really don't buy that too much. It is big. It is certainly bigger than USB. But think about what you're getting. You're getting a much quicker transfer rate. So there are some advantages with that. I tried to copy some music onto my Note 2 last night, and it does take an incredibly long time. So hopefully that will be improved with the Note 3. I haven't tested that yet, but I will get to that and I will let you know how I get on. So yeah, I don't really see that as a massive problem, and it's annoying in that you won't have as many cables knocking around as you did for your other phone charging, but I'm sure people will learn to cope with that. And also USB 3 is becoming much more popular these days, and I've got several devices that use it, and I'm amassing cables at a rate not unlike the early days of HDMI. So my initial thoughts are, this is a really nice phone. Interestingly, running Android 4.3 at launch, which is done for one very specific reason. Now, Samsung is about to launch its smartwatch. At the event last night, they had them. I've seen it. They were giving some of them to certain guests. We've got one coming today, and we're very, very excited about it because this is the natural pairing. There's an exclusive deal. First 3 months, the smartwatch will only be available with the Note 3. Which is good. We're very excited about that. So when the watch comes, there'll be another video of that explaining what it does and how it works. We've been talking to them about it. We had some battery life concerns. Hopefully there won't be too much of a problem. We've been assured it lasts about the same amount of time as the phone. And speaking of which, the phone battery is improved over the Note 2 as well. It's got an extra something like 200 milliampere hours. So that should help compensate for this bigger, more power-hungry screen. But the whole watch Note thing is really interesting, and we know there's a lot of interest, so there will be videos on that very soon. I'll be reviewing this phone this week for Pocket-lint, so if you want to see the review, that should be online very soon, and I'll have a full video review once I've made up my mind whether I like it or not. But for now, I've been Ian Morris, and this is the Galaxy Note 3.